Is there any way so small?
Welcome to the Conservatives Abroad part of conference. And I especially welcome those from around the world and our distinguished guests. We've got the Minister of State at the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, James Cleverly, Minister of State for the Cabinet Office, Chloe Smith, and our Conservatives Abroad patron, Sir Geoffrey Clifton-Brown MP for the Cotswolds. Well, Conservatives Abroad is the global arm of the party that keeps in touch with members living overseas and connects them to our parliamentarians. We have successfully campaigned to increase overseas voter registration. We identify and champion issues affecting expats, and notably our Votes for Life campaign to scrap the unfair 15-year rule of disenfranchisement. Well, none of this could have been done without our fantastic volunteer network, which spans the world, with representatives and groups in over 50 countries. So I take this opportunity to thank all of you and anybody who's not listening, with special thanks to the British Conservatives in Paris who have actually sponsored this event. I also thank the parliamentarians who have championed our cause over many years. And I have a special letter of thanks to everyone in Conservatives Abroad for their unstinting support of the party, from our President to the Prime Minister. And this will be on our website very shortly. So I turn first to our patron, Sir Geoffrey Clifton-Brown, who has championed our causes tirelessly. He attempted to introduce a 10-minute rule bill in 2015 in our quest for Votes for Life. Geoffrey, you helped us to keep these issues at the forefront of the party. Can you give us the background to your engagement with Conservatives Abroad?
Well, Heather, good afternoon. It's a great pleasure to see you and my colleagues on this call. And a huge congratulations to you, because through thick and thin, I think you've been chairman since 2010 or 2011, through thick and thin, you have championed the cause of Conservatives Abroad, and you deserve a great deal of credit. And while I would like to send a very, very warm welcome to all our listeners around the world, and I'd like to just explain, I think, why Conservatives Abroad is so important. Forward-looking countries like Switzerland, Singapore, ourselves and many others take great pride in their mother political party keeping in touch with all of those like-minded people around the world, cherishing them, because they in turn will promote British interests everywhere they are, and they'll promote conservative interests, and that is really, really important. So again, a tribute to you for having grown the party so much. But of course, there's always got to be a cause. They, in turn, want some benefit from being a member of Conservatives Abroad. And of course, you have a large and growing membership, and that is fantastic. And you encourage large numbers of people to register and vote around the world. That's very important when it comes to general elections. But what I've been campaigning for since 2010, really, since I was chair of the International Office, is to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to register and vote. At the moment, as everybody knows, those who have been abroad over 15 years are not able to register. And so I managed to persuade firstly David Cameron, then Theresa May, and then Boris Johnson to have a manifesto commitment that we would pass legislation to extend the current law, which Labour restricted, so that it is now unlimited. Everybody can vote for life. And I'm delighted to see Chloe, the Minister of State at the Home Office here, who will no doubt say more about that particular campaign. But just in closing, so I really can't emphasise enough how important it is for the Conservative Party to make sure it keeps its friends around the world. This cannot be overstated. So thank you very much indeed for inviting me on this call.
Thank you so much, Geoffrey. And now I'm going to turn to you, Chloe. You have also given unstinting support to Conservatives Abroad and the many issues of overseas voters. Actually, I would use up the next 30 minutes by listing the requests for delivering Votes for Life. Adrian in Switzerland, David in Colombia, John in Spain, Mark, Beijing, Amanda, New, and many, many others. Can you give us an update on the expected progress of Votes for Life?
I certainly will, Heather, and again a big thank you to you and to Geoffrey and to everyone in Conservatives who on, but as you've outlined, kept the flag flying over all those years. And I absolutely echo Geoffrey's words about why that is so important to do, and especially at a time like this. So just a little about, one sentence about me and how I come to be involved in this. I'm the Minister for the Constitution. And that means that I have responsibility for all of our policy to do with elections, all of the policy areas to do with elections, with democracy, and with other constitutional issues as well. And so you can imagine I'm not having a quiet job for the last few years. But of course, what's really important about that is that actually elections give you, the foundation on what everything else. That's why democracy is important, and that's why the Constitution is so important to try to have as a stable, flourishing thing on which you can then build people's hopes and dreams. So I've had the privilege to hold that role for a couple of, for years, in fact, and indeed through 3 administrations. So being able to see the progress of this particular idea, the idea of Votes for Life, across, as Geoffrey says, the fortunes of a number of our Conservative chapters recently. What we are doing now is deliver that as part of our manifesto, on which we were very proud to win in December last year. And thank you to all of you who were part of that, and indeed, if you were able to vote as part of that, that of course is part of the same victory. So knowing that we've been committed to this over a few years, but that we haven't been in a position necessarily to be able to deliver it in the parliaments to date, you will know that Glyn Davis MP did a great job with a private members bill version of this in the last parliament, which I was very pleased to support him on. But due to the vagaries of politics as they have been years, we haven't yet to complete that. So now we are really looking forward to doing that as a majority Conservative government. And what I can say to you today is that is in the works. We are going through the technical detail for how to do that as part of I hope so, take our other manifesto commitments in related areas, so with elections and democracy, and you'll have seen those in the manifesto. For example, the idea that you are able to bring ID to polling stations, sensible things that are going to improve the security of our elections. You will know that in that manifesto commitment, there were 2 parts to it, in fact, for voters overseas. One is to lift the 15-year cap, so to enfranchise every British citizen, eligible British citizen who has been abroad, no matter for how long, because we think that no matter how far you've travelled, you are still British, and we want to be able to embrace everybody into our voting system that way. But the second part of the commitment, though, is to make it easier for people then to vote. And I know that actually here's where often, the meat of the issues come. Even when you are eligible to vote, actually you've got all of those day-to-day issues to deal with, like how quickly can your postal service get your postal vote, and all those bread and butter things. So I wanted to give you the reassurance that that is being worked on, as well as the headline measure 15 cap. I'll be able to bring more details out to you soon, I hope, and look forward to doing that through Heather and Geoffrey. But that, I hope, is a welcome to you, and thank you all for keeping the faith for us on with this.
Very good.
Great, thank you, Chloe. And now I'd like to, and thank you for your endless support, both you and Geoffrey. Now I want to go to the second part of our expat engagement programme. There are over 5.5 million Britons living abroad. Some have emigrated to retire or work. Many are temporarily abroad, working in key sectors like finance, energy, education or health. This is 5.5 million potential informal ambassadors, many keen to help the UK to prosper as we move into a new post-EU era. Some countries have been very good at identifying and mobilising their diaspora around the world to help their countries in a wide range of ways. I'm delighted that we are joined today by James Cleverly, Foreign Office Minister for the Middle East and North Africa, key areas for Britain's economy and home of many Conservatives abroad. James is going to tell us about the government's ambitions for global Britain and what role our expats can play. James.
Heather, thank you. I don't know whether everyone can see on the screen what I'm seeing on the screen, but for some reason I seem to be remarkably diminutive. I don't know whether that's just on me, but there we go. Wow. Heather, thank you for organising this. Geoffrey, also thank you for your long-standing involvement with Conservatives abroad. And as Chloe has said, over the last few years, it has been difficult because of parliamentary numbers for us to really deliver one of the things which I know is close to the heart of so many British nationals around the world, and that's the ability to vote, which is one of the most fundamental rights and freedoms, and yet is denied to so many people. So thank you all for doing so much work. And the reason why this is important is because the British community overseas is influenced by the standing of the UK government here at home, and it's legitimate, therefore, that they have a say in that government. And what the Prime Minister has made absolutely clear is that the UK, now that we have left the European Union, is going to be a fully engaged global player, a force for good in the world. An agile but ethical country when it comes to trade and commerce, passionate about protecting the global environment in both the ecological sense, but also in the human, moral, social sense, so that we, for example, invest very heavily in education for girls, which we know unlocks liberty and prosperity wherever it is prevalent, and also to make sure that we use our voice, our powerful voice, and we are now being reminded that as we leave the European Union, we didn't have to always use our voice through the Union, but we're stand on our own as an independent force for good in the world. And these are the things the Prime Minister is passionate about. So this is what we will be doing at home through the new merged Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, really coordinating those traditional functions, but also through the Department for International Trade, for example, through the Ministry of Defence, through the other international facing parts of government that we have, to show the world that the UK really is back on the world stage. And this is where you all come in as our diaspora. And we don't often use the word diaspora when we talk about Brits, but you are, and you are our voice, our champion, our evangelists around the world. So we really want to make sure that you feel confident and equipped to sell the British story, to really explain to the world what we're trying to achieve, the good that we're trying to do, how it's in their national interest to work closely with us to deliver these things. And so you're part of the team. Whether you signed up for it or not, doesn't really matter. You are part of the team, and we are incredibly pleased and proud to have you. And one of the things that we are very keen to do through the integrated review, which is the overarching review of UK foreign policy, is to make sure that everybody, whether in the UK or abroad, has the ammunition to fight on behalf of British national interest, and also to show the world that British national interest is also in their benefit. That, as I say, we're a force for good. We are going to be an engaged, problem-solving nation around the world. It's an incredibly important time, and I think we're seeing foreign affairs and the UK's relationship with the rest of the world really very much at the heart of government now and fully in focus. And I'm incredibly excited about that. And I'll finish as I started, basically by thanking you all. Thanking you all, as Chloe said, for your perseverance and patience as we try and put things in place that will allow you to be, fully involved in the democratic process in the UK, irrespective of where in the world you are, how long you've been there. So thank you again.
Thank you, James. And as you've just described, there is an amazing and incredible wealth of experience and knowledge with our expatriates living overseas. Would an international British overseas advisory panel or something similar be something the FCDO would consider setting up?
That's a very good question, actually. I think that we are in a lucky situation with regard to technology. I mean, we're now here at, I was about to say at Party Conference, but of course we're scattered all over the globe. But we're able to speak together. We're able to exchange ideas, and I think that is an opportunity that we would be foolish to miss. So whether it's an advisory panel or something less structured, I'm quite open-minded about. But I do think it's a fantastic opportunity for us to harvest the ideas and the experience of Brits around the world, who often know the part of the world they're in better than any official at the Foreign Office could ever hope to. So yeah, I think that sharing of information is a really good idea, and I'm willing to look seriously at whatever structures or formats might best facilitate that.
Do you think, and Chloe and Geoffrey ask you this as well, do you think there could be an MP or a minister representing expats or a constituency? Chloe?
I'm very sorry, Heather, I couldn't hear you very well.
Could there
repeat the question?
The question was, could there be an MP or a minister or a constituency representing expats?
This is an idea that is proposed. Can you hear me? Okay.
We can.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm sure everyone has been experiencing these issues all morning. Yes, this is an interesting idea, and actually most recently I think this has been proposed by, if I remember correctly, I think even the Lib Dems in Parliament, the idea that there ought to be a sick constituency for overseas voters. I don't go for the idea myself, and I don't think the government will be putting it forward as part of our proposals to deliver the 50-year rule. Because we think that it's really important that you have that link to your community. So the community then the one that you were most recently in Britain before you left, or for those who had left obviously longer than for those who will be newly enfranchised under our rule change, you'll need to go back in time a little to how you define that in terms of where you could have been registered. More details that will come. I will want to make sure that you're on, of course, how to be registered and where to register. But in principle, at the principal level, we do think that it's important to retain that to that last community that you're a part of in this country, so that you're actually part of the system in the very way that other domestic voters also are. In other words, we all have that community link, that constituency link, and we think that's important. What I'm trying to set out in the legislation reform is that I want, as far as possible, to help overseas voters be seen as the same as voters in the UK, and I think that's quite important. I'm sounding a few obvious practical. I think that is quite important because I don't want people to see you any differently.
As we don't know, there is no system for reaching out or finding out where our British expatriates are when they settle overseas. When the Votes for Light comes in, how will you go about reaching people to get them to engage? Let them know about. This is
incredibly important. Very sorry, apologies. I've got difficult audio with you. This is important, and I'm really pleased that you raised that, because here is a thing that I think perhaps everybody listening and part of this seminar today could be part of. We are all going to need to do a huge job in advertising very, very many more voters have been to date. It's going to be a very large operation, isn't it, when you think about the numbers involved? And of course, we all know, because I'm sure we've looked at over many years, we know what a tiny proportion of those who could be eligible are already registered. We know they've got that job to do. So what I am working on is trying to use the breadth of government to do this, and I'll be working with James and others to try to make use of all of the touch points that we might have with British citizens overseas. There'll be various ways to try to follow that up and do that through the various sort of systems that government runs. I'd be genuinely interested in ideas on that as well. If you have particular experiences of where you had some administrative contact, for example, with the state that could potentially carry messaging that would help people to be registered to vote, I'd love to hear from your experiences. And then, as I say, once we actually get the rule change in, it will be, I'm sure, all hands to the pump to get out there and encourage our fellow citizens to be registered.
Thank you, Chloe. And back to James. James, I actually had a question from Mark in Guangzhou. He said he's very active in the community in many ways and in business, flying the flag to the UK. He said, what more can he specifically do in his region of South China to assist the FCDO? He says, I really want to help.
Well, firstly, a huge thank you for the stuff that you've already been doing. And I suppose part of the easy answer is kind of more of the same, really. Asia is, I think we all know, going to be it is already and is going to be an increasingly important part of the world economy. So having a presence there, both a formal government presence and, as we say, this cloud of Brit unofficial ambassadors is incredibly important. I think for us as a country, our relationships, particularly with China, is going to be an important one, but potentially a tricky one. There are fantastic opportunities in building a stronger and better working relationship with China. But ultimately, we want to make sure that all our work, all our interactions are done on the same kind of moral starting block, and so there is some work that we need to do there. But I do think that working with and encouraging is almost always generating better outcomes than hectoring and rowing with. So anything we can do to really translate and to disseminate British values, British ethos, that moral underpinning that we use here in the UK, that would be a fantastic help. But as I say, being there and being engaged and being active is already kind of 85% of what we could ever ask of you.
Well, many of our members of Parliament and yourself, Geoffrey, has been all over the world engaging with the British expatriates, with our groups, with Conservatives abroad. Our idea from this conference session is to mobilise the British diaspora in the most effective and cost-effective way as a new incentive for the government for the benefit of the UK's economy and global reputation. Is this achievable? James?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is. I think the importance, and not just because of the parliamentary arithmetic, but there is we have now been reminded. I think these last few years we've now been reminded of the huge potential that has perhaps not been untapped, but underutilized. The Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary are both absolutely clear that a significantly enhanced level of international engagement is what they expect. The FCDO, Foreign Commonwealth Development Office, we have a role to play, an important role to play, but it is just part of the part of the machine. We are but one cog in a much broader machine. And organisations like Conservatives abroad, the individuals who are abroad, British businesses based overseas, all these elements combine to really give us the maximum bang for our buck. And we are going to have to work hard. I mean, there's a lot of world, and there's a lot of ground to cover. But I am confident that there will be a huge amount of support from Number 10 and the FCDO for the activities, as I say, of Conservatives abroad as an organisation, and Conservatives abroad as a group of people.
Thanks, James. Well, I'm going to hand over to Geoffrey in a minute to finish this meeting. But before, I want to thank all our speakers in this virtual meeting, and to everybody who's watching. If you want to join our global network, especially to feed back to the party best practices and used elsewhere where you are, please do contact us at conservativesabroad.org. And thank you very much for all you do from overseas for our party. Geoffrey, could I ask you to conclude this session?
So may I thank all of our listeners from around the world for joining us today. I'm sorry that we haven't been able to get you on live. Perhaps on a future occasion we will. Can I thank you, Heather, for your perseverance, my two colleagues for taking time out of their very busy schedule during the conference. And I'd just like to leave everybody with this message, really. Obviously, we want more of you to join Conservatives Abroad. That goes without saying. But Chloe is working very hard to make sure many more people, we think perhaps up to 1 million people, have the ability to be able to vote in our elections. And I leave this one message to everybody. Do sign up to register and vote, because then you will be on the electoral register. Your Member of Parliament will know who you are. You will have a relationship with him or her who will be able to pursue your interests, whether it's pensions or anything else, directly with the relevant minister. So please register to vote. We will be delighted to have you as members of Conservatives Abroad, and thank you for listening today.
Thank you very much.